Hello, everyone. It is another weekend. And if it's another weekend, it is another hot and heavy direct talk with me, Professor Jubin owusu-nyamekye. And I am glad you joined us today. Me and my panelists are going to be discussing an issue that is of great concern for people living in the diaspora. This is what happens when you do live shows.
I can hear you.
No, check here.
Not in the mic. Okay.
The connection there. An issue that is of concern to most people in the diaspora. So this issue has been raging on for some time now, and I think it's time for us to have a discussion on where are we and how we are dealing with it. It is messing up a lot of families. It is breaking up a lot of marriages and causing a lot of confusion in a lot of families, both here and back home. And so, what is the issue? The issue is mistrust that we have for. Let's go.
It's not working.
It's not working. But you can hear me from here.
I can hear you
From here.
manually, but not through the mic.
I can hear you.
You can hear me?
We'll fix it. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's get this show started. I have with me Reverend Dr. Asabia. She's a Presbyterian minister in Columbus, Ohio, USA. She's from Ghana. I have Professor Zach Nyongiza. He is from Kenya, but he's a professor at Ohio State University, the Marion campus. And we are also waiting for Lindora Kulu Howard Diawara. She is from Liberia, and she has a nonprofit organization, B4P, here in Columbus, Ohio. All right. So when she comes, we will introduce her and get her to join the discussion for us to get a perspective from the motherland. We also have with us Mr. Raymond Kasamba. Mr. Kasamba is a finance officer at Garden City University in Ghana. He is going to be giving us perspective from back home. Is it that we don't get it? Or we get it, they don't get it? Or we don't understand them, but they also don't understand us? What are the issues? So let's get this show started. Prof.
Yes, sir.
Before we do a show, I do a survey.
Yes.
And I talked to about 100 people.
Mm-hmm.
Out of the 100 people that I talked to, only 5%, only 5 individuals send monies back home these days.
Mm.
It used to be where you send money to your folks to do projects, to do stuff. And only 5 out of the 100 people send monies back home. One lady that I talked to said, well, they have not been good stewards. So what is the point? Why, Prof? What's going on?
Well, thank you for this opportunity. And we thank all those who are out there listening to us globally in diaspora. We are in diaspora, obviously. And those who listen to us from the previous presentations that we've had. The issue here is that we have lost, as Africans in diaspora, we have lost quite a bit. Part of it is the trust that we put in our family members, the trust that we put in our sisters, brothers, the trust that we put into the leaders whoever they are, wherever we come from in Africa, the local leaders even, and the fact that we were praying and hoping that whatever projects that we begin in the village or in our own family members, in our own family history, will continue. However, that has not been the case. That 5% survey result that you came up with a while ago when you opened the show could be true, and that's a sign of people diminishing who are helping, people who are putting money home. Let me just say a few things, then I'll get back to this. In Kenya, the diaspora folks send in quite a bit of money. As a matter of fact, the country has opened up opportunities for people in diaspora to do investment back home. That's why we have this dual citizenship, and there's a specific department of diaspora in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs that caters to Kenyans who are out of the country, in Europe or here or Australia. And the whole idea is I've noticed that we send money home a lot. If we stop sending the money home, obviously that would have an impact on the we can't we can't lambast everybody, but we just need to be thankful for those that have been good and responded to their family members in diaspora and use that money at least to do something. But that's probably maybe 5%, and that could be wrong. The majority have suffered, including the speaker here. So is there distrust? Yes. Did I ever have that gold project that I had turn into money back home? No. I had a project like that, but I don't think money has come out of it to make me happy. So it has been a total failure. It makes us sad. It makes us feel that people at home don't appreciate what we are doing here. But here's something else, and I'll turn over to my other panel members to speak. It is this perception that we have a lot here. This perception that if you're out of the country, then you are better off. This perception that that we have money on trees here, so we just shake those trees and the money comes. This perception that we left Africa for greener pastures, so we have harvested, so we have the obligation to help them because they don't have. So that creates this perception of being entitled.
Mm.
Like you need to give us because you have, we don't. Now, what contributes to that, my fellow listeners and panel members here, is that the economies back home have not helped us a lot.
Mm-hmm.
If the economies in some of these countries of Africa, or minimum all of them in Africa, had done something to make these folks feel that are self-sufficient, then maybe the entitlement would be less. But it's more. And the more you give, the more they want.
Prof, let me catch you on here.
Please go ahead.
Sense of entitlement.
Yes, sir.
That is what is happening. Reverend Asabia,
Yes.
do you think the same, or you think there's something else? Well, Prof talked about bad economy, which is contributing to our folks back home not being good stewards.
Yeah.
Entitlements, and the fact that we are outside.
Mhm.
So we shake trees and we just, the money just fall from this tree. So people have become so accustomed to, hey, I know he's in UK, I know he's in US, he's going to send some money.
Mhm.
Is that the case?
It's exactly so. And before I traveled overseas, I used to describe the dollar or the pound or the CFA or whatever the currency, wherever that money was coming from to Ghana.
Mhm.
I used to describe it as a capsule in the Ghanaian language, or topaye.
Mhm.
The capsule contains more than
Tablet.
a tablet.
Mhm.
And so when it explodes, you have the contents being more than one. So you're talking about currency and inflation. Come to think of it, that if someone was working in Ghana and was being given even 15 cedis an hour, it is equivalent to $1 an hour. So when that person, you ask, how can somebody survive on $1
Mhm.
an hour? So if he works for 8 hours, he's getting $8 for the day. So this disparity, this wild gap
Mhm.
of how much someone is working for to make ends meet is like impossible. And so when we travel, our hope, and Prof. Zach had already alluded to that. When we travel, our goal is that we are not only going as a person, we carry our whole clan or family with us.
Whole community.
The whole community come along with us.
Mhm.
Because probably your ticket was bought by an uncle or a contribution from sisters, and your traveling bag was probably purchased in Accra for you, or in Nairobi and sent back to you in your village.
Even if you made the trip by your own effort, you still have them as your baggage. You still want that poverty or that situation to change. So you carry them on your mind and your heart, and you say, if I can even send $5
Mhm.
to ease up their predicament, their financial burdens. So this person thinks that, oh, you only traveled yesterday and you can send $5. Now, the person who is earning the $1 an hour thinks that, oh, my sister is going to bring me, and they are not even going to think about how did I get the money and what crisis I might be in.
Mhm.
The only thing is that you are here to help us.
It fits into the entitlement thing.
The entitlement and the expectation.
Expectation.
The expectation is that you are in a better place.
Mhm.
And so the entitlement, so send us something. I myself think that, oh, I can't believe that a bottle of or a gallon of milk is less than $2. And so if I can't send a gallon of milk, let me send something to them. Let me ship some things to them. And so they become suddenly they feel like they have affluence because of the person outside the country.
The thought of trying to alleviate the
Yes.
poverty, trying to lessen their
They're
burden,
taking it for granted.
becomes an expectation
Yes.
on our part.
Yes. And so some people have also fed that grandiose spirit on both ends. Somebody came, or whatever he came to do, he came by some big, huge money and sent a huge sum of money and said, I used to do that. When I send $100, I'm not thinking about just my mom. I'm thinking about my cousins, the ones who are in school. And because I've gone through the pain, the suffering, not even being able to eat maybe kenke and fish. So I want to alleviate it. Then it becomes an entitlement and expectation. So when people have sent big money, or when they have started, they've gone for a holiday and they spend money like they really pick them from the trees, then we have set a standard. And that standard is a false standard. Because people begin to see that when you go abroad, your life will change and you have to make people's life easier. So we may have fed into the grandiosity and the expectation.
Okay. Well, so Prof is talking about sense of entitlement, and Reverend Dr. Sabia is also talking about expectations, and hers is some part of it is us and some part of it is on the other side. Now, Raymond, let me come to you. I'm going to unmute your mic, but there was so much noise in the background. That is why I muted your mic. Can you hear me? Raymond. Raymond. I need to unmute his mic. Okay, I'll bring it back. Raymond. Thank you. Raymond, can you hear me? Ghana and the network. So, Prof.
Yes, sir.
I was talking to a couple.
Yeah.
And this is during my survey.
Yes, sir.
They live in Japan.
Yes, sir.
You know, Japan is not like US or UK where you can get whatever they call the papers and stay and stuff like that. So they decided that, look, we're not going to live here for a long time. So what we're going to do is we are going to do something so that when we live here, it will serve us retirement because we can come back. The lady told the husband that, well, you know, I don't trust your folks. He says, okay. So my brother, that is the husband's brother-in-law, has land that he's selling. I would propose that we buy some lands and start doing some projects. All right, Raymond, you are back. Raymond, you are back.
Yeah, is this coming from here or from your end? Yeah, I'm back. Hello?
Yeah, the noise is
Can you
coming
hear
from
me?
It's good. Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good. So I was telling you
see that yeah, I could see that sometimes the three of you go off. So I don't wanted to know whether it's from here or from my end.
I think it's your network.
Oh, it's Africa.
Wherever you are, let's put it like that. So
yeah,
I was saying that there was this couple. Can you hear him?
Yes.
there was this couple that they live in Japan, and the Japan is not like US or UK or Netherlands where you can get papers and stuff like that. So they said, look, we're not going to live here for a long time, but if we live here, we are going to retire. The lady told the man that I don't trust your folks to be good stewards of anything that we send, because we have been doing this bit by bit and it's not been turning out well. So my brother has lands that he's selling. So let's get with him, get some project going so that when we leave Japan, we will go and retire in Ghana and we have something to live on. Okay.
Yeah.
They bought 3 acres of land from the wife's brother. The brother told his brother to go and start developing the land. They were attacked to get off the land. Why? Because the land belonged to someone else. And they told his brother, the wife and the husband told the brother that take the issue to the police station. The issue ended up in court. The land was sold to 3 different people, including these folks that I'm talking to. Now, these are people who are struggling in Japan, thinking that they are going to retire in Ghana. And for the wife to convince the husband that my brother can do it best. Now, what is happening? Raymond. So you are. I hope you heard what Doctor said. You are in Ghana.
Yes.
For this, why this? And trust you, the marriage is now in serious trouble. Yes. So come in. You are representing back home. What's happening? Are we too stupid or to be giving money, or you those back home feel entitled? What is it?
Thank you, Prof, and good afternoon to you. Good afternoon to Prof, and then to Reverend and the other colleagues in the studio. And good afternoon to the listeners and viewers all over the globe. This topic is very interesting, and to give the perspectives as indicated earlier. But before I do that, I just want to give a background to this social science topic so that we get some appreciation of how invincible it is, and then it's very critical in our social fabric or life. So you will notice that the word mistrust or distrust, comes is picked from the word trust, and trust, as you like to know it, is an arrangement whereby a person holds property, as its nominal owner for the good of another person or for a group of persons. So anytime you have a feeling that you cannot rely on someone, holding on to something for you, then of course that's where the word, mistrust will come in. But it's also very important for us to know that, this is
Yeah, he's froze.
Muted.
No, he's froze. It's the network. Yeah, he's been frozen for some time. So I was just waiting for this to happen. He's gone back. I think he'll come back. All right. Prof.
Yes.
Let's carry on.
Yes, let's do that. Yeah.
So you heard this story.
Yes, I did.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Raymond, we can hear you.
Hello.
We can hear you, Raymond.
Oh, this is terrible. Yeah. So I was reading a book written by Hello Wet JF and Co, on social capital and well-being in times of crisis. And they did indicate that trust is an invisible. Hello?
We can hear you, Raymond. Go on.
Okay, sorry. So they did indicate that trust is an invisible, social science topic in our society. Nevertheless, it's very essential, to our social well-being as individuals. It's as similar as oxygen in the survival of a human being. And society cannot do without the word trust. So it's very fabric even to our health, as we look at it. So just to give a perspective of why immigrants may feel that, your folks down here cannot be trusted. Some of them are a bit of external in nature. And I would just like to share an instance with you. Hello? Oh, hello?
We are listening. We can hear you.
Okay. Oh, the
Yeah,
network is terrible.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
your network. Yeah, we can hear
Oh,
you.
sorry. Okay. So what I just wanted to say is that, in Africa or in developing countries, our socioeconomic environment is not secure. That's one thing we need to do. And it's just because, like Reverend said earlier, our governments are unable to provide these social interventions like education, health, security, even food to eat, and all those kind of things. So almost every time you feel that people are insecure in developing countries. And because of that, when there are temptations of people entrusting things to you, you are tempted to take advantage of that. And usually that is where you find these instances of mistrust, coming in. Just recently, I had a young man from UK who, was giving his life story about his experience with a colleague he met in Ghana and who wanted him to help him to travel to join him. So he did help him to acquire his papers and he joined him. But later on, they came back to Ghana and he noticed that his colleagues, his colleague was developing at a very fast rate. So it gave him a signal that something could be wrong. So when they went back, he decided to plant cameras and observe what was happening. To his surprise, he noticed that anytime there was a sale, this gentleman will just packet a bit of the funds. So he was under declaring his sales that he was making. So when he noticed that, immediately he had to terminate his relationship. But this is one instance of, just to add to what Reverend stated earlier, of people's past experience, makes them, not to trust people at all in their dealings. And then Reverend also talks about something that had to do, with changes in people's perspective. One thing you need to know is that sometimes when our brothers travel outside, because of the environment in which they find themselves, it changes their perspective in the way they look at things, which tends to be different from the way people down here, equally look at things. And when you have these communication gaps, you are likely to encounter issues of, mistrust. So these are some of the experiences that, we go through, and then it makes us not trust, ourselves in laying out investments or properties in the hands of other people to take good care of them, for us. So, Apostle, I'm sure maybe if you will talk about some other things that will come for us to look at. Thank you.
Sure. But let me stay on you for a minute.
Okay.
Am I hearing you say because of our socioeconomic issues, we cannot be faithful to little things that we are bringing back? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
I did mention that earlier. Let me give you an example. Reverend talked about it earlier. We must not take away the fact that there is poverty in developing countries. There are young people or people who are unemployed and they need to survive. There are people who are even employed and underpaid and they equally need to survive. And one important thing you need to take note of is that because the government is unable to fulfill the social contract of providing social interventions for its people, a lot of our folks are insecure. And then the other thing you need to know is that these services, because the government is unable to provide them, is the individual who have
You just
Lost him
you
again.
went dead again.
Mhm.
All right. So, Prof,
Yes.
I hear Raymond trying to explain the socioeconomic issue that is making people unfaithful, or not unfaithful, but good stewards. Would you ascribe that?
Mm.
I want to disagree, but it's your opinion. Let's hear that.
Let me just say this. I heard him very well, and Reverend Doctor has also talked about this. The bottom line is this: the economies of Africa have created a process where people are not developing, but rather going the other way, going into poverty. And when we encounter poverty on a daily basis, and that's all we know, that poverty is going to erode any quote unquote values that we may have that sanctify friendship and family and unity and faith. Because now what comes out of this is that people have to survive. And when you are in a survival mode, you focus on what shall we eat today? What shall we eat tomorrow? And when you are constantly focused on how am I going to take care of my family, I think these values of faith, let me be faithful to my family members or faithful to my brothers and sisters who are abroad, kind of go away a little bit because they have to survive. Let me rephrase this in a different way. The fact that people at home have family members who are abroad, that by itself makes them perceived by other villagers that they are abroad. Because all they have to do is ask for Professor Zach in America, and Professor Zach will be able to send them a few dollars. So the idea that they have family members here, we who are in diaspora, makes them be put in a position where their people feel envious about them. They're better off because they have people abroad. So is this serious? Of course it is. What causes all this? Our brother on the continent just said the economy, and so did the Reverend Doctor talk about that. That is what it is. It's economy. Now, two, our value, and the Reverend Doctor talked about this. The value of a dollar is more than the shillings, the cedis, the francs, or the kwachas back on the continent. So if you're going to have a dollar that is going to buy someone some food, then they'll see our money as being helpful to them more than their own money. And therefore, when we send money in, we're really helping them meet their needs. And those needs are unlimited because they are surviving. So it's a cyclical, it's a very sad situation here. The only way this can be balanced is if the economy, and maybe we can talk about that later on, the answer lies in how do we then make these economies of Africa start being self-sustaining.
We will talk about
Thank you, sir.
economy, but
Yeah.
I really don't want to talk about African governments.
Yes.
I really don't want to talk about them.
I-
But we'll get there someday. I just want to remind listeners that we are listening to Hard and Heavy Direct Talk, and we have here Reverend Dr. Asabia. She's a Presbyterian minister. We have Professor Zach Nyongiza. He's from Kenya and a professor at Ohio State. And we just got joined by Lindora Kolu Howard Diawara. She's from Liberia and she works for B4P. It's a nonprofit in Columbus, Ohio. And Reverend Asabia is from Ghana. We are also joined from the continent by Raymond Kasamba. He is in Ghana right now and he works for Garden City University in Kumasi. Reverend.
Yes, sir.
I don't want us to steer our conversation to bad government, which we know, but I want us to stay focused on us.
Yes.
Mhm.
The fact that somebody has toiled, giving you money to do something. During my survey,
Yes.
I talked to this young man who is now ready to give up on anything in Guinea. Why? Because his parents cannot account for $20,000 that he sent. All right. His friends, he started relying on his friend. And, one or two occasions they came through. And then that was it. He spent almost $30,000 on them for nothing. His friends realized that you can't trust your family. That's why you came to me. And so if you can't trust them and you can't trust me, where do you go? You are stuck.
Mhm.
Why is that?
It's a sad story, but it's the truth for many, many, many people.
Oh, yes. All of them have, if I want to narrate the stories that people have said this week.
Yes, yes. It's unfortunate. St. Paul of the Christian Bible said, "Shall we continue to sin so grace may abound?" He answered, "No, we cannot do that." And we're talking about poverty or financial difficulty and surviving mode. But I think that for some of us who have, by the grace of God, been able to or have been landed in these places which are not as cozy as we may imagine if we are back home, is that people have people assume that because if my sister brings me money and I squander it, where is he going to take it to? There's no consequence. My mom will even tell me, this was the reason and that was the reason. That's why they squandered the money or they diverted the money for other things. But I think that part of the eroding of our virtue as people who can be trusted, is that people are not looking at their own resources and living by it. A lot of people want to live over and above what they make. And so, because of that expectation and because of that entitlement, if you brought me money and you want me to use it for this item A or this project A, and I need to go to a funeral or I need to go to the hospital, I'm not going to focus on your assignment or your project. I'm going to be taking care of me because that money is here. And after all, you are not here. So that kind of mentality, that kind of reasoning And of course, even if you went back home and you said, my friend or my mom, in America here, if a father took a son's money and did not refund it, the child will send him to court, and that money will be reimbursed, or maybe he might even go to jail. He may be jailed. But our community and our way of thinking about, oh, how can you send your mom, your own mother to court because of $20,000? What is money? And we will reason it out like that. And so we'll even pat the person who has squandered. And so it becomes a pattern. Friends are taking advantage of people who are virtually sleeping, and they have no clue. Even when they have a clue, they know that if they build a house, you are not coming to live in anyway. And now this is what we have. This money has come to us. So we'll do it. And you can go to wherever you want to go to. It's not going anywhere. If you bring it to court in Ghana, they will only tell you, go and come in. You're not going to stay here for 3 months. You go back. So that has become part of the reasoning, and it become spiraling up and up to the extent that people will even want to kill you if they have a huge sum of money from you, so that they silence you forever. It is sad.
I'm hearing that poverty is making us not being accountable. That's what I'm hearing from Reverend Lindora. So, you know, in 2002, I was in Ohio State University, and my economics professor, first class, he opened up the class with a topic, a question. The whole class erupted. Serious debate. He said, poverty and illiteracy, which one is bad? And people, everybody. And he said, this is why we are studying economics. But that's not my question to you. During my survey, I talked to some folks. They are from Sierra Leone. Okay. And their story is that they are trying to take care of people back home. Now, they live in Netherlands. They are two brothers. Okay. They sent money. They had a land back in Sierra Leone. And they said, well, their parents were pushing them to do something, because the area was prime neighborhood and people were encroaching. So they said, do something. So they said, okay, we aren't ready to do anything because we've also got obligations here. But because you are pushing us, we're going to send you money to do it. They contributed and sent money. They said they sent about 15,000 euros. Never heard from them. When they got the money, they said, okay, we got the money. That was it. So they thought, business as usual. They're going to take care of whatever they wanted to do, build a house or wall it so that it will ward off encroaches. After a month, something came up and they said, well, let's call folks back home and talk. So in conversation, they asked, so we haven't heard anything about the land. Have you guys safeguarded the land? Then the mom started going off on a tangent. Well, Francisca has been sick for the past 6 months, and we've been going to the hospital. And she said, Mom, but I asked why Francisca is their sister. Well, she's your niece. Don't you care about your niece? So the dad picked up the phone from the mom and said, look, sons, we had to take care of what we had to take care of. We had hospital bills that we couldn't pay. So we have bought some blocks, but it's not enough to do the wall. Lindora, could these guys be heartless? Would you say they are heartless, or the people back in Sierra Leone did not take care of what they're supposed to take care of? This is a tough question for you. Sorry about that.
Well, let me first of all say good afternoon to everyone.
Good
Hello.
afternoon.
Sorry I'm late. But again, thank you for giving me yet another opportunity to join this conversation. So, picking off from where Reverend ended, there are a couple of words that I want to talk about. There are so many issues we keep bringing to the fore, but I think they're all byproducts of a non-functioning society. What I do know growing up is that within society, in our culture, there was a way long ago, if there was a rule, say you were in a village and there was a rule that you could not do certain things, and you went against it, you were sanctioned, you were dealt with. Unfortunately, today there are issues of impunity down at that level. When you don't guide people towards rule of law or ensuring that they do certain things and you just let it be,
We know what's going on everywhere.
Let me come to you. You are back home. What is this attitude that once you need something, you push and call every? I mean, they know the time very well. Ghanaians are very, and Africans, Liberians, they know the times very well. They can tell you the time it is in Japan, in Australia, in US, but they will call you 1,001 times for the money. As soon as you get the money, you are even lucky to call to check if they have the money or get a call from back home that, oh, we got the money and we are going to use it. Guess what? You call and the line is just dead. Once they need the money, you call them. Every minute you call them, they will pick up. Once they get it, the call suddenly just, the phone suddenly just develops some kind of a problem. Why is that? You are back home. Oh, he froze again. Raymond, I'll come back. But Reverend,
Yes.
why is that? Is that poverty too? Is that illiteracy too? Or is that entitlement too?
Yeah, it's courtesy.
That we send money and when they need the money, they'll call you 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., regardless. As soon as they get it, you have to call them to confirm that they have the money. And that's it.
Yeah, but I can.
Purpose for which
Maybe I brought
you are back. Raymond.
I
Raymond.
can't stay on. Hello.
Your network. Yeah, we can hear you. You heard my question, right? Reverend Karen.
Yeah, I have a disclaimer here. My mom is over 90.
Hello.
Whoa.
And
Raymond, are you stable?
Hello.
We can hear you, Raymond. Raymond, we really need your perspective. You want to make sure your internet is stable. Raymond.
my mom, as I was saying, she is over 90, and she has her phone. When I send her money, and as soon as she receives it, she'll call me. I have to call her to inform her that she should check her phone, that the money has landed. Immediately, my mom will call me and tell me she has received the money. And then she will ask, what is the purpose of that money? Is it all for herself, or are there other people who I intend for her to? And I'm
Disciplined, accountable, well cultured.
Hey. This is a woman who, even if she's in dire need of something, she will keep the whatever money you said she should use for this.
But let me push back a little bit. Yes. She's a baby boomer. And those people, they were brought up in a... I talked to one of them and he said, look, when this person comes from here, says when you come breakfast, we have grits. Like it? Oh, I don't like it. Okay, wait for lunch. You wait for lunch. Lunch is bologna sandwich. I don't like bologna sandwich. Okay, wait for dinner. Dinner is a chili. Well, you're going to have a choice. You want to wait for breakfast. You eat what is on the table. That is how people 90 years old were brought up. So they know what is sufficient, what is not sufficient. They are not greedy. But these are people that we are talking about, millennials, Gen Zs, and 55 years old, 65 years old, who for some reason don't really care about what we do here, other than the money that we are giving them.
And so it is the trend of assumption or living beyond one's needs. That's lack of accountability. Oh, I have somebody, a younger nephew, who believes that, oh, you only give me only $100. And I
Only.
say, only? Did you say only? $100 is not only.
Let me pause. Raymond, we have you here. Raymond, he's on there. He's typing something to me, but I can hear him. Raymond, go ahead.
And so, see, that mentality, that a sense of grandiosity. Oh, my sister or my aunt or my whoever is abroad, and if I need it, he should send it to me, and I'll use it how I want to use it, and he send it to me, and so it's mine. So we need, those of us in diaspora, we need to help people be accountable. If 1, 2, 3, they are not showing accountability or sense of value for what you have sent the money for me, I'll give it to who is due. If I give it to you and I'm not thinking about it, fine. But I have stopped enabling people to live a grandiose style.
I have stopped enabling people to live a grandiose style, telling us that they are living beyond they want to live beyond their means. Lindura, what do we have to do? Now, I talk to people and they say, look, I have 3 weeks vacation. I have $10,000. I go and do whatever I have to do. And if it's not enough, I'll come back. Next year, I'll do the same thing. That's what most people, there are 100 people that I talk to, about 90% of them, that's what they are doing now. The question is, they go there and they get all these frustrations put their way by our own folks. So what do we have to do? I mean, it ties back to what we discussed last week, retirement. Where do you want to retire? Is it a society you want to retire in? But that was last week. What do we have to do? Do or don't? Send the money or don't send the money? Trust people or distrust them and keep sending them? We just heard Reverend Dr. Sabia saying she stopped enabling people to be trusted. She's not going to do that anymore. What do we do?
Well, again, if we go back to last week, one of the things I said, it all depends on the individual and how the decisions you make and how you build those relationships and maintain those connections. For me, I've been one of those fortunate. I was in, at some point, I had lived in Mali. I was there and working. And obviously, like everybody else, after I get my paycheck, boom, Western Union, boom, MoneyGram. I was doing that.
Ria.
And just continuing to do that. And at some point I said, wait a minute, this thing has to some, as it has to stop. But so what I started doing, fortunately for me, I was in and out. And I was sending money not just to anybody. I was taking care of my siblings. I was taking care of my mother and everybody else. Then I came here because I had an opportunity. I got a scholarship to come. So first of all, that's when we built, my husband and I, that's when we built our house. But when I got the news that I was accepted to come and do my master, what I did was my last trip to Liberia, I called the family, my mother, my sister. I'm going to America. I don't know what awaits me, but one thing I know, I'm going to be a student. I'm not going to be an employee. Over the years, I've been working and sending money, taking care of everybody else. So this is what I'm going to do. And I discussed with my husband, and he said, "No, that's not going to work." I said, "Watch me." I said to them, I said, "So each of you, I want you at this point to tell me, think about it. You don't have to tell me now, tell me tomorrow, but before I leave, tell me, if you were to get 500 US dollars, what would you do with it? And let's have that conversation tomorrow." The following day, I reconvened everybody, and they were like, "Oh, yeah, I think I would do this." Obviously, the plans were changing. So fast forward, we went through that, and some of them were still not sure, but obviously I didn't expect much, but I wanted something to click. And I said to them, when I go to America, unless it's about education, school fees, I'm not going to stress out. So I'm going to give each of you something to do business. Don't come back to me if it feels. And I refer them to the story in the Bible about Jesus and the guys who he gave the talents. If you use it well, it's to your advantage. If you go and dig a hole and put it in and say, "My sister is in America, when she comes, just as she gave it to me, it's how I'll give it to her." It's to your own good or bad. Don't blame me. My husband said, "Oh, why are you doing this?" I created a savings club, a Susu club. My mother complained. She put her business money in some club, and they took it. I said, "Bring your money to Monrovia." Created a Susu club. I said, I myself would join that club. Every money, that money I gave you, you turn it around and you make sure if it's $2, $5, you put it monthly. At the end of the year, we all share the money. I have my money. Nobody's eyes should be on my money. So they all tell me, "Oh, your money business is not easy." I would track it. I tell you, I send you this, and it better be there. That's how I position my family. My uncle, I gave him a motorbike. Bought him a motorbike. You run that motorbike and grow your money. You know what he did? He ran the motorbike because he didn't want my mother and his nieces to know how much he was making. He decided to go and invest in a Susu club of his in-laws. And so when that money went away, I didn't hear that story. I heard it from my sisters. He didn't tell me. So I positioned them. So again, it's about the individual and the relationships that we have. Had I not done that, today my story would be different. And I always tell this story to my friends. I said, in my case, it may not work for you, but this is what worked for me. I had to stand up. If somebody calls me, if they call me and say, "I need transportation to go," is that why you call me all the way in America? Because you need to ride taxi to go to school? Do not call me. If you call me and say, "My school fees are due," that I know education is important. I'm paying your fees. I will send you money. Don't call me about food you want to eat. And so that's how I did it. Others could do it, but there's still possibilities. These are our family members we are talking about. And like Reverend said, sometimes we enable it. We never say, "But every day you are coming to me for $5, $10, $50. What is it that you really want to do?" Let's have these hard conversations. Until we begin having these hard conversations, people will take us for fools. People will take us for granted. I have people, there's a lady who I worked with for a long time. We had a very good relationship. And she wrote to me saying that she had a stroke. She needed money to go to the hospital. And I said, well, at that time I wasn't working. I said, well, I would try and see how I can help. This woman will call me 2 a.m., 3 a.m., as though we had an agreement that I had to pay. I was so stressed. She stressed me out. I had to find some $100 and send it to her. When I got that money and sent it to her, 2 weeks later, she wrote back, "Oh, yeah, thank God, I'm okay now. Can you send me money? I need to travel to this place." And I said to her, "I don't have money for that." I already told you I don't work. Oh yeah, you over there, you're not working, but your life is far better than mine. And I said, that's what you tell me, as though I have money for you. So you get the feeling of entitlement. I don't have money for you. We are only friends. We worked together before. So again, just nipping certain things in the bud and not enabling people and pushing people to think harder about coming and just asking, because on the other end, they're becoming nothing but beggars, which is not dignifying. It's not dignifying. So we need to have these conversations.
Yes, Lindora is telling us to have a new orientation of our people, a paradigm shift, so that we do not quibble them. You know, you talked about beggars, right? The whole continent is a beggar.
Oh.
The whole continent. They go begging Chinese. They go begging. So why wouldn't our folks come beg? It is a culture that is permeating into our system.
That's not who we are.
We are not.
Yes,
It's
that's
so
not who we
sad.
are.
But our governments are begging.
It's-
Every left, right, center. I mean, I hear Zambia. This is not a topic for Zambia. There's a GP who comes from China.
Yeah.
Police general comes from China.
Yeah.
So, Prof, let's
Yeah.
stay on this issue. Should we stop sending money home? Because I know most African countries, foreign remittance is about 30. In Ghana, it's about 30%
Mhm.
of our budget, of our GDP.
Yeah.
Should we stop sending those monies home because they are not good stewards of our funds? Should we stop? I'm asking this because most of the projects that immigrants are doing back home are not even for people, are not even for their own benefit. It is for people back home's benefit. People building houses for their parents, doing businesses for their folks. Off camera, we're talking about this. No, I think I said it on camera about this guy who did a good farming from Japan. Their whole thing was, if it becomes lucrative, then we stop sending you money.
Yeah.
Then you use the money for yourselves. Even with that, it didn't work well. So, Prof, should we stop sending money back home?
I think we're almost getting to a point where, out of frustration and indecisiveness, some of us are just.
Because we are not all lucky as Lindora, who oriented her family.
Yeah, and she's an exceptional. in that case.
Exceptional.
Yeah, really.
Because 90% of the people I spoke to,
Yeah,
they are done.
yeah. I listened to your story very well. And I think that's exceptional, and we should be proud of stories like that. And I think at the beginning, so there are some people on the African continent.
I think I've got Raymond.
Yeah,
Let me
Raymond,
see.
yeah, please.
Raymond. Hello, Raymond.
Yeah, the way the network is, let me just give my
Sure. Come in.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead. Raymond.
Oh, terrible.
Raymond, we can hear you.
You can hear me. What? I just wanted to say that one of the ways, our brothers in the diaspora can do to
And sisters.
minimize these issues of
And mothers.
mistrust.
And
Yes.
fathers.
Yes.
And uncles.
Yes. Can we, especially those that have to do with projects, can we entrust this? Sometimes you want to build a house, and I'm wondering why you want to give the money to a family member or a friend to do it for you when they are contractors, they are architects, they are quantity
But the
surveyors,
contractors
professionals. You can entrust.
also using very, very medical, shabby equipment. They don't do a good job, and you have your families telling you, I went there, and instead of using 7 bags, I saw him using 2 bags, mixing a whole trip of cement. That.
No, but there are professionals that their regulatory bodies can enforce quality assurance. You see, sometimes, we are scared about the initial cost. But then I ask myself, if you give it to a family member and you end up losing the entire investment, and then paying even more to have it. Which one will you prefer? Because there are contractors, there are architects who are regulated by their regulatory bodies, that when you engage them, you can even validate the work that they are doing. You can validate their quantities, you can validate their drawings and everything, and ensure that there is value for money,
Raymond,
than relying on friends and family members.
Let me push back on that. You are very right that we can use regulatory bodies, as you talked about. Have you had a situation where you have done something out of the family's view, and you have the chief, your mom go tells the chief, go tells the owusu-nyamekye, go tells the family head, go tells this person to come and talk to you, and you have to rescind your decision? Can you hear me? Raymond?
The network is not stable.
Prof, go ahead.
What I was saying was this: there will be a few of us who will continue to send, knowing that nothing good will come out of it,
And get stressed every day.
and the speaker is one of them, me. On the other hand, there will be others who just give up. I know folks that have just given up completely and have said, I'm not going to do this again because of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this has been 15, 20 years and has been a total failure. So I'd rather just invest here. So we have had people who have arrived at that level of disconnection with the family members back home.
Raymond is back.
Yes, please.
Raymond, are you back?
Yes. So I was just concluding that it
network
is better and easier for you to it's better for you and easier for you to enforce a legal issue with somebody you have engaged on professional competence basis than a family member. I know earlier Prof was talking about the fact that you can't send a family member to the court. Your mother or your father, you have given money to do something for you. At the end of the day, when you want to take legal actions, because the family person, the family member, is difficult. But if this is a professional person you have engaged and there are issues about the value for money issues, you can take legal actions. And I'm sure with that, you'll be able to go through.
Raymond,
Yes.
you are speaking
Yes.
as a very, very educated person living in Ghana. I have somebody right now that has a legal battle in Ghana for 10 years now.
Mm-hmm.
For 10 years, for 2 people stealing his cows. 10 years, cows.
It's true.
10 years. He is still battling this in Ghana. 10 years. So yes, you speak of going to court. Remember, I don't live there. I have only 3 weeks to live there. And if they call the case and I'm not there, guess what? They're going to postpone until I come there. And even if I come, the judge will never, or the court clerk will never call the case. You know why? Because those people back home have already paid bribe. He's here. He only has 3 weeks. Don't even call the case.
Yeah.
So yes, it is there. We know all these remedies, but they don't work.
Yeah.
They don't work for us. And in any case, you talked about a project. What if I want to start a cattle farm? Is there a company that in Ghana or in Liberia that can do cattle farm for me? And how honest are they going to be? Raymond, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there. So there was also one thing I also tried doing some. Yeah, I also tried doing a survey here on this topic, and one of the things I got, which Prof talked about it earlier, about sometimes our social status. You know, when we travel outside and we come back, the kind of life that we want to portray to our people, they seem to see you up there, not knowing how you struggle out there to make this money. So sometimes when we come, our life around us, the way we want to do our things and those kind of things, make people have an impression that we kind of have it so much out there. And then that's what increased the expectations, which are unfounded. So if folks also come and know that at least you have been in the environment, you know how the environment is. When you come, you should live a measured life. Sometimes it's not all, but some of the young guys who go and come, they come and portray themselves to such level that people have high expectations towards them. And that's why they want to depend on them for their livelihood, or they want to follow them and even go there and all those kind of issues. But these are some of the thoughts that I have. And I know that this thing, as long as it is a perception, is going to be with us. But we just have to try and find to minimize it by some of these interventions. Of course, one of the critical things we also need to know is communication. The environment that you are living in the US or in the East is different from the environment here. And sometimes when we are communicating, we need to be able to understand that we are in different environment so that we can understand where we're coming from.
Give an example.
And all those. So you have, for example, over there, Reverend was talking about the fact that when you have even your parent offending you, the legal system over there is able to assist you to deal with the issue and resolve it. Here, when you have it there, family members come in and they want to prevent you, from, trying to deal with some of these issues. So these are environmental differences. Yes.
Isn't it people who say, "Oh, why did you take him to court?" That is your uncle's son's niece. Your dad is related to him from this cousin. So why don't you bring him out of court to settle?
Yes. So these are culture to some extent. So when you encounter some of these things, you don't have to find a way to be able to. But there are differences, in the environmental setup. That's why sometimes we find these things difficult. But truly, it's real. It's real about issues of mistrust. And like I indicated earlier, I think part had to do with the fact that our governments are not able to provide an environment that makes people secure. Because most of the things that people do when it comes to issues about holding onto properties of others is just because sometimes they feel insecure. I ask myself, if I have food to eat and be satisfied, why do I go out begging for it? You get it? If I'm sick and I can easily walk to the hospital with an insurance or with my SNP number and be attended to, why do I go crying on someone to help me to do it? So as long as there are gaps in these social intervention programs that the government is supposed to provide, you will find these things happening among us. But we just need to try and minimize them as we go along. And I believe that, like, the engagement of expertise to do things for you, if you are giving the money to your family for family business, is a different thing. But if it's for a project, it's a business venture, I want to encourage you to look for people who have expertise and are controlled by regulatory bodies to do these things for you. You may see that it's expensive, but at the end of the day, I believe that you get value for money for that. Thank you.
Thank you for your perspective, because we thought we were just being I don't know, something for sending monies to. Prof, go ahead.
No, I think our brother on the continent is right in saying that there are professionals that we can engage, whether we're building or doing some business. Of course, that is going to be the case. But this is not to say that the whole country is like that. We could probably have a few, maybe 5 or 10%, who will do the work that you've asked them to do, and you pay them adequately, and that's okay. So let's always remember that we do have some people in all these African countries who can be responsible enough to follow through, but that is not the majority, number one. Number two, this whole idea, and we have talked about this, and this is really nice, poverty has eroded the values that my both sisters talked about a while ago. family values, trust, the cohesiveness that this family has. Poverty comes in there and has a way of taking that out. But then when someone like me or someone comes out of that to this part of the world, wherever you are within our listening world, and sends that little money home, that little money is going to deal with that aspect of their poverty. It's a lifeline. We're throwing them a lifeline. When you throw them a lifeline, they want that lifeline to be long in terms of longevity. If you take it away, you're bad. But if you send the money, you're good. then the poverty is not reducing. The poverty is increasing. The needs are unlimited. Lifelines need to come from abroad. Economic opportunities, all those things that I've talked about. I just go to the premise that, look, this is going to get worse.
It is.
We're not going to be able to be happy with our loved ones back home because money is getting lost. Money is not accounted for. The projects have stalled, or the projects are dreams. I know of many people that have gone back home to look for the building that they thought was up there, and they showed that person someone else's building. That's different than pictures they've seen. It's very sad. I've seen that. So the question here is
that's a recipe for stroke.
Yeah, it is. So to what extent is trustworthiness even available? I guess we just have to say that this is really hopelessness. I just feel that way because I've lived through it, and I know many stories of people that don't want to send back home.
But you are one of those few people who will still keep sending.
Yes. I sent this morning. Yes. Yeah. And the last time I sent to when I was in here.
Right. You said it.
Yeah, I sent this morning. And the reason why I sent was, let me just make sure this goes and it's not coming back, or it's not going to be producing something desirable for me.
Excellent. So
they asked for it.
Should we be taking a cue from what Prof is saying, that I'm sending this out, not expecting anything out of it, so that you don't care what happens? That also presupposes to mean that you are not investing in there. Is that what we want to say?
Yes, I think I agree with Prof. that when you were proposing the question, the image that came to mind about not saying should we stop at all is the story about King Solomon and the two women. If Solomon had listened to the woman whose actual natural child has been killed, and went ahead and slit the child, the living child, the mother whose child is already dead would have lost nothing. So in this analogy, what I want to say is, if we stop, there are a lot of people who may die, and Prof used a lifeline. People who would die for sheer peanuts. And so we cannot say that because majority are not trustworthy, we will not do what is worth doing. And so we should be able to, without enabling, we should be able to evaluate or assess or discern. For instance, I use my mom. Every month, my responsibility to give something to my mom, I see that as a responsibility, whether all the other siblings are doing it or not. This is my responsibility.
That is a remittance.
That's a remittance.
Right. It's not for a project.
No, that's not for project. if she wants to do a project and she suggests we have to do a project for her. So I summoned all my siblings and I said, this is what Mama wants. Even though I'm in diaspora, I'm going to give my quota as much as I can. But when it is done, even the last born, if she carries a bucket of water, it is Mama's project. And when we are done, we are done. There were mishaps so here and there, but we did it for her. But if I'm going to do my project, if I have to go into that story, we bought land, and someone who is in diaspora had the audacity to take the whole land and register it because previously that land had not been registered. And he is sitting somewhere controlling the affairs of the land back home. That's another page of a story. So we have to be sensitive to know that, okay, even though I can't trust these people, I will, for my own sanity and for the purpose of good, I'm going to give this person something. But if I want a project done, either I'm going to find a professional who will sign a covenant, a contract,
a legal
with
binding
a
document.
legal binding. And even so, I'm doing that with reservation that this can go into the deep sea and I may not see it all.
just as somebody is still battling 2 cows in court for 10 years.
And so I think the resolve is, as much as is possible, if I want to do anything, project, if I'm not settling here, and that is my mindset, then I have to do that in person and control it and make sure that if I can do 3% of that project and come back, fine. If not, let me keep my money here where it is or put it in the bank. And that's one way of doing it. Put it in the bank in Ghana, redeem your money and do your project. That's another way.
Excellent. So we should balance our needs. If
Yes.
it is for remittance, or we should think about giving it and not expecting any
That's right.
tangible results. Lindora, it looks like your system worked. Is it still working?
It's still working.
It's still working.
My system is still working, and so even though I'm not there, like one of my sisters who's in line, she is taking care of the family in terms of providing basic needs. I rarely send money home, but the others also are doing businesses. They're doing whatever, so they find their own money. Nobody calls me to say we don't have that. So we ended that story a long time ago. Around Christmas time, when folks are expecting you to send them money for Christmas, that's when we are sharing our pot. Everybody got their money. So because you are taking your susu around Christmas, you dare not ask me to give you Christmas. So it's at that point in time that I say, okay, because everybody got money, maybe I will send this to my uncle in the village. I will do this, or give it to the community, contribute to the community's Christmas party of that. So I don't have that stress anymore. But coming back to what Raymond said, for example, I think it's true. We also contribute to some of these problems. The way we portray ourselves when we go back home, the way we want to show that we are from America, the way we want to show that we are better off, it comes back to bite us. Through my foundation, we launched the foundation officially in Liberia last year. But before we launched that foundation, I went to Central Liberia, where we have the office now. And there's a lady I had worked with before. So I had told her about the vision and everything. And she said, well, we'll welcome you. I said, I'm coming to the county, to Bond County. So we go to the county and say, I want to meet with other women. I want women from all sects, from whether they are farmers, in everyone, and I sold the idea of the foundation. I said, the plan is to come back next year. And so I got feedback from them. They were very excited. They thought it's a good thing to come and launch the project. And I said to them, but this is what we're going to do. I said, through my foundation, We work with women and girls to build their capacities to access resources and tools for social justice and empowerment, financial empowerment, political empowerment, whatever. But we're coming next year. One of the things that I want to do is to host a conference, 3-day conference. But this is the beautiful part. That conference that we are coming to host, you are the ones that will host it. I said, you all agree that the vision that I have is good, right? Yes, it's going to empower us. It's going to do that. I said, okay, so that would be your responsibility to host the conference. Wherever you're going to find money from, I don't know. I don't care at the moment. But I know you will have to figure it out. And then on the diaspora side, we'll mobilize the funds to do the official launch. Do we agree? We said, I said, okay. I put my hand in my bag and I took $150. And I said, this is a seed I want to plant on this day. Between now and next year, you have a responsibility to ensure that this seed grows. And what happened? We tried to raise funds. We got some money for the official launch, but obviously we had to send money to, organize, pay for hall and all of that because that was part of the launch. But these women were able to reach out to other women in the districts. They mobilized them and they brought money. Those women fed themselves. In terms of accommodation, they said, no, we don't have money to accommodate. So every day assigned, each women head will host people in their homes. We launched that conference, and there are people in Liberia who think as a result of that launch that I have so much money. But those women put their hand together and I said, tell me, how do you feel about it? For me, for us to talk about women empowerment, we have to invest in ourselves. I give that example. So I told them, it's not because I'm coming from America that you think I have money. There's money here. Find that money that is here and do something collectively.
Yes.
So project-wise, through my foundation, that's what we are doing. We've raised some money. It's in the account, in the bank. We have signatories. I'm one of those. And they're there and we're working together. But this brings me back to the point that you also what you also shared last week, Prof, about the Indians.
Yes.
How they organize.
Yeah.
For me, I'm a peace builder by training.
Yeah.
And so talking about issues is one thing. And with my entrepreneurship lens or entrepreneurial lens, when I see these issues, for me, I've learned that there in every challenge, there are opportunities.
Right.
So I think as bad as these issues might seem, this is an opportunity for us in the diaspora to become creative and collectively develop something out of this. This is an opportunity for our people back home to talk about all of the challenges that people see us as beggars. How do we change the narrative? Come together and change that narrative. But until we get to the point where we see that the way we are going is not the right way and have a shift in paradigm, we are not going to shift for it. But the beautiful thing is that our kids that are growing here, they have a different mindset. Some of the kids that are over there, they also have a different mindset. They're going to go on another. So again, it's also about trying to chart the course. What pathway are we creating? What pathways are we creating for ourselves and for those children to come and tread? But talking about it is one thing, but there are opportunities. He talked about engaging professionals to build. Yeah, in Liberia, there's a company right now that went and took people's money to build their homes. They've chopped their money and they are in court. Money and, so it depends. Everything is context. Everything is. Again, that's what I said the last time. We can talk about all of these, but it depends on the individual. How does that individual connect with the collective? And how do we all come together to see this is a problem? How do we make use of our challenges, but to turn it into opportunities for us and ourselves? Personally, I'm not going to stop sending money back home. Because of my own personal strategies, I've stopped sending money the way I used to send it. But it doesn't, because again, I talked about investing. For me, I also see it as an investment. We also, I don't know if you all say, but I know it's an African thing, that good never lost. So even if you are helping someone, we also say in Liberia that through crab, the crayfish or the crayfish will drink water. So the $10 you give to one person, there is somebody who also depends on that one person. So when I send money out, if they use it, fine. If they don't use it, I say, well, that's up to you. But what is important to me as an individual is that relationship. Because when I decided I no longer want to live here, I want to go and live there. I want to be on a cushion. And these are the things that help us to prepare that cushion for the future. So it's not about saying I will cut everybody off. I'm not sending money there, because when you want to go there, then who are you going to?
Mm.
And again, that's part of the reasons why we are having challenges. Some people cut off. They are at a point where they've decided, well, I think I can do something that I would now start. That relationship is not there.
Mm-mm.
So again, the decisions that we make personally as individuals. So it could be us there, it could be us here, you know. So
Since last week, I have been talking to some people
Mm.
about what Prof said about the Indians.
Mm.
I know of them, but I didn't know how close he was to them until he talked about it. And a few people, I'm just trying to gather views to see if we can have an all-African Congress to start something like that. Because even in Columbus, I can count, I think, about 100 serious professionals living here that if we come together, we can do a whole lot of stuff.
Mm.
We've got pockets of everybody doing their own things.
and it's the same thing back home.
Same, you
That's
know,
right.
this guy's a pharmacist, open his pharmacy shop. This guy is a medical doctor, open his practice. But one of them, I was talking to a doctor, and he said, look, do you know 10 doctors can come together and buy one of these rural clinics in Newark,
Wow.
in this place, and hire all Africans? And I was like, oh, he says, oh yeah, these rural hospitals are being bought by Ohio Health and all these people, and we work for them.
It's true.
Can't we come together and do something? But that is a topic that we can. Raymond, are you back with us? I think Raymond just we lost Raymond. Prof, your last words.
This is brilliant that we're having this discussion again on these important topics about Africa. My sister Lindora here did a good job in making sure that in your own family, you've been able to succeed to some extent. And that is more power to you. Some of us have not. And I'm sure there are many out there that have not been able to do that. But should there be a continuous dialogue on this? Yes. Should there also be fast baby steps that we need to take to at least resolve? Yes. Should we have an all-African Congress here? I think I suggested or implied that last week. I said, look, I think we need to do that. I think it'd be a good step. Otherwise, the Indians are 100 miles ahead of us.
Hundreds, thousands, probably.
And then we are on the half a mile mark. So should we do that? I think we should.
Talking about remittances
Yes.
being dissipated back home, and 2 cows
Yes.
stolen for 10 years and battling in court. When
Yes.
the Indians are looking for professionals and getting their kids jobs and their family, their kinfolk jobs and all that.
And buying all the motels.
Oh yeah, they own everything here.
Yeah, buy the motels. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we should now, as we move into the future here, start talking to our people in the community about, can we have an all Congress of Africans here? Can we get together? Even if it's just about what about if we start talking about financial planning, like we talked about last week? Wouldn't that be nice that we can start talking about this idea? Because most of us don't know.
All we know is doing containers back home every day, container, pushing money in there.
Yeah.
Rev, your last words.
I think as an African, as a Ghanaian, it's if you want to break pots, you start from home. So I kind of sense that why Africans are so individualistic, even in diaspora, is that it all boils down to the trust issue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so what can we do to start trusting ourselves, even in one household?
It's true now.
Can the husband and wife agree that we are in this together. Whether you develop castles in Ghana or here, we aren't taking them to the grave. What can we do to benefit us as a unit of a family? So if unit A, unit B, and unit C are cooperating and living as good, firm, founded, agreeable, reliable family units, then we can have the audacity to invite other units to follow. So I think it's not just conversation or a congress, but let us stir ourselves up and say, we have been doing this lonely boating, sailing, and our boats aren't going anywhere. Can we start rolling together so that we can reach further than we have done so far? I think that conversation should start, and as a minister, prayer is very important. Our faith should not just be spoken faith, but a living, practical faith, and we should start from home.
Charity begins at home.
Yes.
So I'm hearing.
Yes.
Go back to the basis.
Yes.
So I'll let you have the last word. But something just clicked my mind when you were talking about being a unit. I've lived in Columbus for almost over 20 years. I can't tell you, and I can't count how many African shops have come and gone. We sit down here and we just have Saraga.
Yeah.
Now Saraga sells everything from every African country.
Yes.
I'm listening.
And we have had African countries,
Yes.
African
Stop.
shops. 1, 2, even on Morse Road. At some point in time, I could count 10.
Cleveland Avenue.
Cleveland Avenue, I could count 7.
Yeah.
And we sit down here and we have some, I don't know where that Saraga market guy come from, Mexico?
I don't know.
The Asian. And now he's selling everything from Ghana,
Yeah.
everything from Guinea, everything from Ouagadougou,
Kenya.
everything from Mali,
Yeah.
everything from Kenya.
Yeah.
And I don't know how long that person has lived here. He now has another shop inside of Columbus.
Didn't know that.
Yes, I know.
Yeah. And I hear he's thinking of Cincinnati.
Look at this.
And we have a boatload of Africans living in Cincinnati too. And so that's what clicked my mind when you talk about
And I'm sorry to chip in, but yeah, if you hide, so our mentality for ourselves, thinking about, this is my sister from Liberia. I need to treat her with all the respect and dignity and truthfulness as I would do in an Arab store. You know, if I sent a Ghanaian to my store as a worker, and I didn't have a police there. So there is something that needs to be broken. And it is that, if it is a Ghanaian or an African, I can take it and he will not take me.
anyhow.
So the consequences of what we do, responsible living, is what we need to look at seriously so that we can build on one another's yes.
Lindora, the last words.
Wow. The discussions are very good. Just taking up from the issues of trust. How do we deal with this? I think the issue of accountability. And we are fortunate to be in a country where there are laws. So at least back home, because of corruption, you can take someone to court and you stay there for a long time, but there are laws here. I think if we try as much as possible to start to treat each other with respect, but also demand respect and hold people accountable, that's key. I know one thing people will say, that one has come here, they don't want to behave like an African, because mentally, that's where our disease is, in the mind. that we think that the African way is just a different way. We want to do it the African way, but we want to enjoy like everybody else that are not Africans. So we're not sure what we want. The other thing, I don't know if in your country groups you've seen that as well, but when it comes to Liberia, the issue of ethnicity is also a factor. When we group, we talk about everybody coming together. That's when we want to see who is Loma, who is from Jala tribe, who is from this tribe, who is from here. And we continue to break up. When we talk about putting money together for the
Even
community,
amongst those tribes, there's breaks.
yes, because then you go to talk about the village.
And the clan.
The village, the clan.
Yeah.
And then people start to identify with each other along those lines. And so you come and you want to support each other. I mean, if you're in a group and you're trying to build that cohesion, and then somebody come and say, oh, we're from the same town, we're from the same clan. Oh, then there's a clique forming right there.
Yeah.
And then all we
And
try to do
they install a chief,
yes,
and a queen mother, and
we start identifying who else is from that clan, and we start to organize along those ways. So even when we are doing fundraisers, it becomes challenging because there are just so many splintered groups and everything. It's a real challenge. But again, that's what maybe we need to come to really have a kind of process where it'll be like, I don't know if it's about coming up with an oath where people will swear something is wrong with us and it's all in the mind, but we need to figure it out. Because why are the Indians together? I'm one of those that have been asking the question. There is something working.
Yeah.
Look at the Somali mall.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, it's like we are all Africans. So what is it that's different? What is it that's wrong with us from the other side?
I said I've lived here for a long time. Almost all the places that we used to have our funerals, our outdoors, have been bought by Somalians. Today, almost all the daycares in Columbus are owned by Somalians. Today,
Yeah.
if you go across Cleveland Avenue, Morse Road, they are all there.
So what that tells you is that it's all about visioning.
Doable.
It's about visioning as a community. Can we come together and say, with this one vision, no matter where we come from? Because look at the Nepali.
Yes.
They are taking over the east side. They have their own temple. They have this, they have that. You know, so I know the American borns would say, because from my work, I've heard like they say, well, Africans come here or the newcomers come and they don't want to be real American. It's hard because we are from different places. But if we're coming together, we need to decide, who do we really want to be? We're talking about going back home. Home here, home there. But even here, who are we? Who are we? I think we've not answered that question as to who are we and what it is that we want. We've not figured out that, and we want to talk about how to deal with the problems on the continent and everything. Some of us are here and our mouth is all in the government. We are here, we want to be government leaders. When the little leadership opportunities we have here, they give us money for our groups, we're not even accountable. And people in that same group are afraid to say it because Reverend Asabia will say, you know, that's your sister, we all from the same church, you should not be questioning. And, you know, and people are afraid to be labeled or stigmatized or pushed aside, you know. So, but we have to go beyond it because otherwise we're not going to. I work with the city. There are a lot of opportunities. In 2020, my foundation, we did this for the census. I opted to apply for a grant to engage with what they call hard to reach communities. That's our communities. Why is it hard to reach? Because we're busy working in warehouses and other places. We don't have time for things that matter. We went, and I said we'll go out and see how we can encourage our people to go and register for the census. And I had community leaders. One community leader, a pastor, asked me, why do I have to go to do the census? I'm not American. And I said, really? You should even be the one teaching your people right now, because we don't want to pay attention to what's happening. And because we don't want to pay attention to what's happening around us, the opportunities that exist for us, we do not know about it. We do not have access to those. Even if someone comes to tell us about the opportunities, we are skeptical and think, well, that person probably want to show that they're too smart. You know,
getting something.
Yeah, or they gotta be getting something, or maybe they want something from me. So the level, that's why I said poverty and ignorance, illiteracy, ignorance, that's the worst
Lindera wants to bring this argument, but we'll get that argument.
It will come
together.
up. It will come up.
Yeah,
But
we'll do
that is it. We
Lord
think we
have
are on the
mercy.
right path. We like the hearsay. We don't want to do things properly. Everything is in black and white. There are opportunities. We are not harnessing those opportunities. We are not reaching out. You want to create a business. There are people in the communities across Columbus who are just there to say, come, I'll show you the way. There's money. Once you follow the process, you can access money, you can grow your business, and there's training after the other. But we are not doing that because we have our own mindset as to what it is that we want, and I'm complacent, and I'm here, I'm satisfied.
But
Anyway.
Madam Rondora asked the question, who are we? A quick answer is we are parasites.
Oh,
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's sad.
Yeah.
It is sad.
Yeah.
well, in the interest of time, we
Yes.
want to bring this to a close.
Good.
I am very, very, very much thankful to my guests, Reverend Dr. Asabia Abuaji, who is a Presbyterian minister here in Columbus. She's from Ghana. Professor Zach Yongiza from Kenya, and he is a professor at Ohio State. Lindora Kolu Howard Diawara. She is also from Liberia and works for the city of Columbus, but representing her nonprofit B4P. Thank you for joining me and in discussing this issue. I know this conversation is not going to end here. We are still going to carry on Facebook because we have been shooting live on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, as well as Twitter and YouTube. So we will see you again next week. But in the meantime, whatever is true, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, whatever is pure, if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things.
And please allow me to wish all our men happy Father's Day.
Thank you.
Oh,
Keep on being the great fathers that you are, and don't give up. Please don't give up.
Hopefully not.
You are the head of your family, whether the parent, the women or children believe it or not. God has given you that assignment. Live it up, and God bless you.
Thank you. Somebody posted on YouTube today that mothers should remind their
Yes.
kids that tomorrow is Father's Day.
There are some mothers who play dual roles.
Yes. But
Yeah, thank you.
thank you.